Fourth testimony. The new men's inmates speak. In the name of who do they come into the prisons to improve us?
Seuss.
Who?
Dr. Seuss.
Why?
He's a can-do, honest American guy. He can change us, improve us, as if we were children.
No, this can't be the name they say to the state of Iowa when they come into the prisons to change us.
Why?
He's child's play, and we're no children. We can choose.
Choose?
To be born again.
So what name do they say?
They can't.
Why?
Because they're bound by the split between church and state.
So what do the new men do?
They say no name. They only say Bible values stand for who we are.
But in the name of who?
They say we can't tell you.
Why?
Because the new men say, for now, you are welcome to your own story. You choose.
Can we? Can we? Yes, we can. We can change. We can improve. American values and universal values, one and the same. Just think left and think right and think low and think high. Oh, the things you can think up if only you try.
To say yes.
To say, yes, we can.
To say it to the new men. And then we can.
Can do what?
Can make it happen. Thank him. In prison as it is on earth then.
Thank who?
Jesus, who can be chosen.
But not named.
Yes, before the law, this is no child's play.
Why?
Because in prison, you must be free to not name him if you want to change.
Like adults?
Yes, like adults, living or not, now or then, today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter, but no children can be born again or can be free to choose.
Who says?
Evangelicals.
Even angels?
Yes, even angels are adults born again, free to choose. But children cannot be free to choose.
Where?
In the state of Iowa, in one wing of the prison, among the new men, they say,
we argue for freedom to interchange and not to name him before the law.
who?
They say, we can't tell you.
But it's really Jesus, no?
Yes.
Where?
Before the law, in the state of Iowa, in one wing of the prison.
On the inside?
Yes.
What else do they say?
Among the new men,
Yes.
they say, whatever religion,
Never name him.
but do come in.
Carlos wonders if the American green card is good for the people from Lucca. Back in America, Elia had told Carlos that when his father had returned to Lucca with him to renew Elia's visa, which would only last 6 months, the sleepy case officer at the Italian consulate gave him a choice. To stay in America, you must either find a girl to marry or get a student visa. For the first must, he had to pay a girl the money he earned under the table in Nero at his parents' cafe. For the second, he had to stop working under the table at his parents' cafe in order to study full-time, which would do his parents no good since they would have to hire someone to work in his place at the cafe, their expenses mounting, thus giving them even less proof that they were boosting the American economy through their foreign investment in a business, which is what the Italian consul expected of them if they were to stay, nothing less than to show how they could boost business to make it in America. Of course, these were the rules, he told Carlos: marry or study, under the table, in Nero.
So where do you like it more, America or Italy? Carlos asked Elia.
If you are able to live in America, you play by the rules. Everything is on the, how do you say, up and up, so you know where you stand, Elia said in model English. And Carlos wondered, on the up and up, to know where you stand? Is this where the American upstanding citizen comes from?
Is it good to play by the rules? Carlos asked.
Well, yes, I mean, I know I need to marry or study to be in America, one or the other, or both, he joked, if I want to stay. In Italy, he says, it's different. Everything changes by the minute. You never know where you stand. 1 minute I pay for a pizza, the next minute I ask for a fork, and then it's €1 for the fork to eat the pizza, and then I drop the fork, and then another euro gone before the pizza's even touched. They call it coperto, a cover charge for, how do you call them in English, the cutlery. But If the baby in the high chair next to me drops the fork, well, the parents will not pay extra. No worries, we'll take care of it, the hostess says. And I see they don't pay for the cutlery and that the price of the cutlery can be negotiated except for me. One moment I have a spoon and knife in my hand, the next moment I'm alone without the cutlery and wailing like a baby in front of my thick cannellini soup.
What Elia means, Carlos thinks, is this. The consumer bureaucracy in Italy can reduce you to bawling like a baby. Are you saying in Italy you can't always get what you want? Carlos asks.
Yeah, but if you try sometimes, you get what you need.
Well, Carlos thought, that certainly did sound like the same old song, and he had heard it before. But he wanted to find out more. So one day he called and asked Hannah, who had just landed in the mothership in the dry state of Oklahoma.
America is special, no?
Yes, exceptional, Carlos, as she dusted herself off after seeing a local church's rain service. Why do you ask?
But the people are pragmatic.
Yes, they play by the rules.
No exceptions.
Yes, no exceptions.
An exceptional country which makes no exceptions. How can that be? Carlos asks.
Because everyone is welcome.
Without exception.
Fair is square.
Where?
In America.
It's where you want the green card if you can get it, Carlos says.
And where Santorini wants a wine permit, Elias says, if he can get it.
Which is what you have, right? Carlos asks.
Yes, we have a wine permit. The lawyers came and went. We had a hearing.
And the judge heard you, Carlos says, and now you have a wine permit.
We played by the rules, Elias said. Business is good. We now serve wine with food.
And Santorini got married, Carlos says, and can stay, which is also good.
Yes, he played by the rules. He married, but he has no wine permit or live music. And no one has come into his cafe for days.
Yes, it's sad and strange. He can stay but can't serve, and you can serve but can't stay in America.
Yes, it's sad to say goodbye, to leave America, to come in, to go out like customers.
Even as you serve them.
That's my right, Elias says, to serve wine.
Which Santorini does not have. It's sad and strange. He has no rights but the right to stay.
Without even the permit to cook or sing with a band in his cafe.
So he stays, and with his arms in a downbeat, pointing at the Green Street Mortuary Band, marching down the street, steps outside his cafe, waves his inside patrons out, and screams, "Everyone, please, come in, go out. Everyone is welcome. Listen." And now he's cueing the Mortuary Band, live music at Santorini's. Mr. Obama's fable for Iran's America. President Barack Hussein Obama should have listened to Abbas, Carlos's gas station mechanic. How curious you Americans are, Abbas said. Iran has an election and it is contested, and then hundreds of thousands of the veiled and unveiled throngs in Tehran come out in protest in the streets, and America says, why won't their supreme leaders listen to these people who want freedom like we have it here in America? And Abbas, like a human gin wheel, turns on a dime and says, this is hard to hear this like we have it here in America, because a few years earlier, in a contested election in Florida, your own supreme leaders make a decision for Mr. Bush, and then no one shows up in the streets of Florida. Why not? And it is enough for little Mr. Gore, the loser, to face the camera conceding for everyone to just, well, they go away, they go home. This should not have been my story, Abbas says to Carlos. This should have been Mr. Obama speaking from his bully pulpit, the rumor of a fable from the facts on the ground in Tehran, his Iranian vision of what is possible in protest from Mr. Gore and the people of America when they don't just quit and go home, and for their supreme leaders. This should have been, Abbas says, his squeaky wheel getting us all the grease. Pragmatism and poetry in straight-ahead America. About her sons, Carlos and Carlos Rossman's mother offered this answer in a high-pitched Leipzig accent. 2 are poets with their heads in the clouds, and the third, he's a pilot. His mother did not mention that the pilot had lymphoma, 8 years of his stoicism and good cheer around a disease he contracted in the 1960s courtesy of the United States Air Force, which he never blamed for his sickness, only joining a class action suit against the government on behalf of the atomic veterans. But it was a simple suit, no rancor. For measuring the plane's instruments in flight and for watching off their radioactive schmutz once they landed under the code name Operation Dominique, a Pacific Island A-bomb ocean test drop, he received fair compensation for his atomic cancer. And he left it at that. No blame. That was the mission then. Let's just get the money now. The publicity photos have him smiling through a white mask like Gomer Pyle, wearing white gloves as he sponged down the planes. Years later, when Carlos told him about the stills, he said, "What mask? What gloves? That could be anybody," and then joked that the only love he ever got in the military was a punctured condom. He underwent multiple bone marrow transplants and radiation therapies until they lost count, and like the pragmatist pilot he was, he retired at the VA hospital, living off of VA health benefits in Central Florida, cursing out socialism, yet living off VA benefits in Central Florida, a central socialist community of government veterans affairs men who wanted the socialist government out of their lives while getting VA benefits. These were military men, measuring men, not crude how big is yours measuring men, some even gentlemen, certainly never caught up with their heads up in the clouds men, since they were always looking at the odds as if the odds were navigable clouds. His mother knew the odds were not good, but she also knew how great a pilot he was, how proud she was. "That's my pilot," she proclaimed, always on a mission, although she did not know how much greater a pragmatist he would turn out to be. Once, when they wheeled him in for a transplant, they asked him if he wanted to be kept alive on a respirator, if that was the only option. Mumbling through his oxygen mask, his wife and children around him, he asked, straight-faced, as if making a bargain, "Is the government paying for the machine?" "That fucking crazy," what he said, Carlos heard the Haitian nurse say. "That fucked up cold, man." In the dead ward air, no one heard, "That's my pragmatist."